Welcome students. Today I am going to deal with the subject botany, chapter 1, sexual and asexual methods of reproduction. Already in this chapter, 3/4 of the lesson has been covered by our lecturers. Today as for me, I am going to deal three main topics. One is apomixis, two polyembryony, and third parthenocarpy. Now we will move on to the lesson. Now we are going to see what is apomixis. Reproduction involving fertilization in flowering plants is called amphimixis, and wherever reproduction does not involve union of male and female gametes is called apomixis. The term apomixis was first introduced by Winkler in the year 1908. It is defined as a substitution of the usual sexual system by a form of reproduction which does not involve meiosis and syngamy. So students, I want you to know what is reproduction at first. Reproduction means immediately it indicates fertilization in flowering plants, which means higher group of plants, which means angiosperms. This altogether is defined as amphimixis. But at the same time, there is another type of reproduction which does not involve union of male and female gametes. And this process is called apomixis. So reproduction involving fertilization means fusion of male and female gametes. But such a fusion does not take place in some reproduction. And that type of reproduction which is completely devoid of male and female gametes fusion is called apomixis. So this apomixis does not, in other words, we can say that apomixis does not involve meiosis and syngamy. Meiosis, what's the meaning of meiosis? Students, you know, meiosis means reduction division. குன்றல் பகுப்பு. குரோமோசோம் எண்ணிக்கை பாதியாக இடம்பெறுகிறது. Next, what is syngamy? Syngamy means fusion of male and female gametes. So reproduction means fertilization or fusion of male and female gametes or syngamy. தமிழாக்கத்துல சொல்லும்போது ஆண் கேமெட் பெண் கேமெட் இணைவது இனப்பெருக்கம் என்பது ஆகும். Maheswari in the year 1950 classified apomixis into two types, recurrent and non-recurrent. 1. Recurrent apomixis. It includes vegetative reproduction and agamospermy. 2. Non-recurrent apomixis. A haploid embryo sac is developed after meiosis, which develops into an embryo without fertilization. So students, now I am going to tell you in detail what is recurrent apomixis and what is non-recurrent apomixis. Recurrent apomixis means it involves vegetative reproduction and agamospermy. And non-recurrent apomixis involves the development of a haploid embryo sac. We will see in detail soon. Now I am presenting you with the diagram of an embryo sac. This is the structure of an embryo sac, which is comprising of three major parts. At the bottom, you're having three antipodal cells. At the center, polar nucleus, above which you're having the egg apparatus. Egg apparatus is comprising of the egg surrounded by two synergids. This is the structure of an embryo sac. I think students, now you will have an idea about the embryo sac. Do you know where is the embryo sac present? The embryo sac is seen within the ovule. Now students, I am going to present you with a diagram of the outline classification of recurrent apomixis. Recurrent apomixis is classified into two subclasses. One is vegetative reproduction and two is agamospermy. Agamospermy is further divided into three subdivisions. A. Adventive embryony. B. Diplospory. C. Apospory. So now students, I want to tell you the Tamil version of recurrent apomixis. Recurrent apomixis is called as in Tamil மீள்வகை கருவுறா இனப்பெருக்கம். மீள்வகை கருவுறா இனப்பெருக்கம் இரு வகையாக வகைப்படுத்தப்படுகிறது. தழைவழி இனப்பெருக்கம் 1. 2. பால் இணைவில்லா விதைத்தன்மை. பாலிலா விதைத்தன்மை மறுபடியும் 3 வகைகளாக வகைப்படுத்தப்படுகிறது. 1. வெற்றிடை கருநிலை. 2. இருமடிய வித்தாக்கம். 3. கருவுறா வித்து. Now students, we are going to see what is vegetative reproduction. Vegetative reproduction is otherwise termed as vegetative propagation. Raising plants from any part of the plant, leaving alone the roots and the seeds, is termed as vegetative reproduction. Usually when we want to raise a plant, we plant a root or we sow the seeds. But in this case, there is no necessity for roots or seeds. For example, we can place the bulbil of Fritillaria imperalis and under the soil, put some manure and you water it regularly. After 30 days or 25 days, you can see a sapling or a baby plant coming out. Likewise, you plant the bulb of allium. Allium means Allium cepa or it can be Allium sativum. Within the 30 days, you will once again get the sapling. Just by placing the bulbils and bulbs, you can develop a plant. Likewise, you can plant the runner of mentha or the sucker of chrysanthemum under the soil. Apply some manure, water it regularly. After 25 to 30 days, you can see a sapling or a baby plant coming out. See students, I want to tell you this. There are many other examples. In the case of vegetative propagation, we can raise plants as we like, as we wish. For example, you would have studied in the previous classes about the various methods asexual reproduction like cutting, layering, molding. Just by cutting the stem of jasmine or hibiscus and placing it in a pot, you put some manure. After 30 days to 35 days, you can see lateral branches and young leaves coming out. Likewise, you can do it in a runner mentha arvinus and sucker chrysanthemum. See, in Tamil, what we can see is vegetative reproduction. For example, I told you that by placing the bulb of onion. Onion or allium means வெங்காயம். வெங்காயத்தோட குமிழ பூமியில் வைத்து அதுல கொஞ்சம் உரம் போட்டு தண்ணி ஊத்தி you can develop ஒரு நாற்று தாவரத்தை உருவாக்கலாம். Next, 2. Agamospermy. It refers to a process by which embryos are formed by eliminating meiosis and syngamy. What is agamospermy? Students, see, agamospermy. A means absence. So agamospermy, what is absent here means it is completely meiosis and syngamy are completely lacking here, in the sense that meiosis or reduction division doesn't take place, as well as syngamy also. You know what is meiosis? Meiosis is nothing but reduction division. Syngamy is nothing but the fusion of male and female gametes. So without undergoing the process of reduction division or meiosis or syngamy, that is fusion of male and female gametes, we are developing embryos, which is termed as agamospermy. In agamospermy, we are having 3 types. One is adventive embryony. 2 is diplospory. 3 or C is apospory. Now, what is adventive embryony? How can we define adventive embryony? An embryo arising directly from the diploid sporophytic cells, either from nucellus or integument. It is also called as sporophytic budding because gametophytic phase is completely absent here. Adventive embryos are seen most commonly in citrus and mangifera. So how can we see? Now you want to know, you'll be thinking what is a nucellus or an integument. So students, I want to show you the structure of an ovule. See, now I'm presenting you with the diagram of the structure of the ovule. This ovule comprises of a major part called the embryo sac, which is present at the center, surrounded by a tissue called nucellus. This nucellus is made up of parenchymatous cells, which is surrounded by two layers called the integuments. And within the embryo sac, you're having the polar nucleus at the center, or a definite nucleus, with three antipodal cells above, opposite to which you're having the egg apparatus. Within the egg apparatus, you're having the egg at the center, surrounded by two cells called the synergids. Just below the egg apparatus, you're having a small opening or a small aperture, you can say it's an opening, paving the way for the male gamete to enter. This opening is called as micropyle. Then this ovule is attached to a stalk-like structure called the funiculus. And this ovule is attached to the funiculus by means of a structure, that is a neck-like portion is bearing the structure of the ovule as well as the funiculus, which is called as the hilum. So this is the basic structure of the ovule. So why we are particularly I'm showing the structure of this ovule is because in the case of adventive embryony, I told you that the diploid sporophytic cells give rise to an embryo. So this diploid sporophytic cells means you will be wondering what is it. So that's why I told you, I'm showing you the diagram for this ovule structure. See that embryo sac is surrounded by a tissue called nucellus, which is made up of parenchymatous cells. So this cells from this nucellus or integuments, they give rise to an embryo. Now you will have an idea from where you're getting the embryo, that is from the nucellus found above the embryo sac or the integument surrounding the nucellus. Next, 2 or B, diplospory. This is otherwise called as generative apospory. A diploid embryo sac is formed from the megaspore mother cell without a regular meiotic division. Example, Eupatorium and Aerva. So, a diploid embryo sac is developed from MMC. MMC means megaspore mother cell. Directly the megaspore mother cell gives rise to a diploid embryo sac. Now, you know what is an embryo sac. Just within the structure of the ovule, we saw the embryo sac. This embryo sac structure is developed without undergoing a division, without undergoing a cell division or a meiotic division. And this process is called as diplospory. Next, third or C is called apospory. Here what is that? The megaspore mother cell undergoes meiosis. In the first case, diplospory, we saw that meiosis does not take place. But in the case of apospory, megaspore mother cell undergoes meiosis or reduction division, as a result of which 4 megaspores are formed. And these 4 megaspores, immediately they disappear slowly. Not immediately, gradually, slowly they disappear, all the 4 megaspores. Now what happens is that the nucellar cell gets activated and it develops a diploid embryo sac. This type of apospory is called somatic apospory. Somatic means what? Somatic means vegetative part of a plant. In general, somatic means meaning vegetative part of a plant. Example, Hieracium and Parthenia. Once again, if you want to see apospory, if you have any doubt about, you can refer to your diagram, that is the structure of the ovule. Megaspore mother cells undergoes meiosis, 4 megaspores are formed which get disappeared. Now once again the nucellar cell gets activated. Nucellar cell, you can see the nucellus. That part gets activated and it develops into a diploid embryo sac. Okay students, apomixis is over. Next topic is polyembryony. Students, as soon as you see the name polyembryony, you should be reminded of the term poly. Poly means more than one, more than two. So, what is polyembryony? Occurrence or presence of more than one embryo within a seed or an ovule is called polyembryony. You know what is a seed, what is an embryo sac. You're now having a clear-cut idea about the structure of the embryo sac, about the structure of an ovule. So within this structure of the ovule, if there is more than one embryo, it is called polyembryony. So the first case of polyembryony was reported by Antoine Leeuwenhoek in the year 1719 in certain oranges. So now what is that? Like this polyembryon, like the case of Apomixis, polyembryony is also having a classification. It is divided into 4 categories based on its origin. A. Cleavage polyembryony, example orchids. You know what is orchids? What are you would have seen orchid flowers. 2b. Formation of embryo by cells of the embryo sac other than the egg. Students, you know the structure of an embryo sac. Again and again, I am presenting you with the diagram of the embryo sac. See this embryo sac, you are having 3 antipodal cells, 2 synergids within the egg apparatus and an egg. Center, you are having the definite nucleus or the secondary nucleus. Now, I told you that development of formation of embryo by cells of the embryo sac. First is synergids. Synergids means only the embryos can be formed from an egg, but other part of the embryo sac other than the egg, if they indulge in the formation of an embryo sac, it is coming under this topic. For example, synergid. Synergid is a part of the embryo sac. It is present in the egg apparatus surrounding the egg. If these synergids, in this case, the synergids will develop into an embryo. In such cases, we are calling it a synergid embryo. Once again, suppose the antipodal cells indulge in the formation of an embryo, it is called antipodal embryo. In some cases, the endosperm means the food of the embryo, the food present in the seed. That if that endosperm takes part in the formation of an embryo, it is called as endosperm embryo. For each and everything, they have given an example. See, if the synergids take part in the participate in the formation of an embryo, it is called synergid embryo. Example, Aristolochia. Suppose the antipodal cells indulge in the formation of an embryo, it is called antipodal embryo. Example, Ulmus. Suppose the endosperm indulge in the formation of an embryo, it is called endosperm embryo. Example, Balanophora. Third, C. Development of more than one embryo sac within the ovule. You know that students, you know that the embryo sac is seen within the ovule. Suppose if more than one embryo sac is seen, you will be wondering how it is got. It is got from the megaspore mother cell. From the derivatives of the same megaspore mother cell, it may be 1 or 2 or 3 or more than 2. Example, Casuarina. Casuarina means, you know, we can in Tamil we say Saukumaram. Next, 4D. Activation of some sporophytic cells of the ovule. In some cases, the sporophytic cells of the ovule get activated and they form embryo. Example, nucellus and integuments. For nucellus, example, citrus. Citrus means Elimicha vagaigal. And if the embryos form from the integuments, then for that example, exact example, we can say Syzygium. Syzygium gojava. But here only the genus name is given. Syzygium gojava means koya maram. Now students, they have given the structure of the embryo sac of Ulmus glabra. See the diagram. See why they have given this diagram means because in this embryo sac we are having 3 antipodal cells. These have formed an embryo, so it's called antipodal embryo. Then above that you're having endosperm which is forming an embryo. It is called endosperm embryo. Once again you're having the zygotic embryo. So this is a normal structure of an embryo sac of Ulmus glabra. Okay, now we are having some practical applications for polyembryony. The seedlings or the saplings formed from the nucellar tissue in the case of citrus are found to be better clone for orchards. See, if you want to develop a garden, if you choose the citrus tree, it will be a good for because the citrus plants have been found to be better clones. So you can depend on them and you can develop a garden using the clones of citrus. And another use is that embryos got from polyembryony are found to be disease resistant. That is, they are free from any virus. No disease can attack them. So these are two applications of polyembryony. With this, the polyembryony topic is over. Next, we are going to the third topic, the last topic called parthenocarpy. Students, as soon as you see the name parthenocarpy, you should be reminded of the term seedless fruits. Parthenocarpy means seedless fruits. Seedless fruits means these fruits do not undergo the phenomenon of fertilization. First of all, students, you should know what is a fruit. Fruit is nothing but the ovary containing the ovule, which is nothing but the seed. So that the fruit is the ovary we are saying in the sense that the ovary becomes the fleshy part or the pulp of the fruit and the ovule becomes the seed of the fruit. This is the outproduct of fertilization. But this process of fertilization does not take place in the case of parthenocarpy. However, there are many cases in which fruit-like structures may develop from the ovary without the act of fertilization. So as a result of fertilization, you are getting the fruit. Fruit is nothing but the ovary containing the ovule, which is nothing but the seed. This is got by means of fertilization. But there are a number of cases wherein this fertilization does not occur. It is completely absent. In such cases, fruit-like structures are formed from the ovary without the act of fertilization. Above the ovary, you can see fruit-like structures which form full-fledged fruits. Such fruits are called parthenocarpic fruits or seedless fruits. Fourth point is that these fruits do not have true seeds. Seeds are completely absent. Many commercial fruits are made seedless. So it is in a day-to-day life, we use common fruits like banana, grapes and papaya. Most of these fruits are made seedless by the horticulture department. Nish in the year 1963, he classified parthenocarpy into the following types. He classified parthenocarpy into three types. One is genetic parthenocarpy, two environmental parthenocarpy, three chemically induced parthenocarpy. What is genetic parthenocarpy? Genetic parthenocarpy arises due to hybridization or mutation. Example, citrus, cucurbita. See, you would have heard about hybrid fruits. Usually hybrid fruits, they will be larger in size and that though the quality will not be that good, but it will be larger in size and attractive. So how does this hybridization or mutation occur? Now you know that parthenocarpy means seedless fruits. It occurs mainly due to mutation. Mutation means what? What is mutation? Sudden change in the number of chromosomes or in the structure of chromosomes. Mutation in Tamil version we are saying திடீர் மாற்றம். திடீர் மாற்றம் மூலமாக இந்த குரோமோசோம் அமைப்பு குரோமோசோம் எண்ணிக்கை மாறுபடுகிறது. அந்த திடீர் மாற்றம் அல்லது mutation, it will take place due to some changes in the environment or due to some rays, physical agents or due to some chemical agents. In some manner, some sudden change occur within the plant as a result of which the chromosome is affected, chromosome structure is affected and the number also is affected. In such cases, the plant which is affected by mutation, it will not undergo the process of fertilization, as a result of which that plant will bear fruits without seeds. Example, citrus, cucurbita. Citrus, again I am saying citrus means எலுமிச்சை வகைகள். Cucurbita, all the species of Cucurbitaceae family. பூசணி வகைகள். 2. Environmental parthenocarpy. Environmental parthenocarpy. What is environment? Environmental consists of physical factors, chemical factors, biological factors. Environmental conditions like frost, fog, low temperature, high temperature induce parthenocarpy. See, by means of some factors in the environment, adverse effects or drastic effects may occur within a plant. Suppose there is a very high temperature or a very low temperature, or if there is a very high snowfall or a very high fog condition or a frost condition or a heavy rainfall, these directly or indirectly they will affect the plant, as a result of which the plant will not undergo the process of fertilization and it will induce parthenocarpic fruits. It will induce fruits without seeds. For example, a plant is subjected to a very low temperature for about 3 to 19 hours. It will induce parthenocarpy. That is, it will induce parthenocarpy means what? That these fruits will not have undergone fertilization. Directly they develop the fruits without the fusion of male and female gametes. But the fruit will look attractive. It will be very pulpy and edible. Example, pear. Suppose if a pear plant is subjected to a very low temperature of 3 to 19 hours, it will induce parthenocarpy. That is, it will not undergo the process of fertilization. Example, pear. Pear means what, students? Pear means berry kani. Next, chemically induced parthenocarpy. See, in some cases, we may see plants, they do not bear fruits for many years. For example, a mango tree is not bearing fruits, or a guava tree is not bearing fruit. In such cases, we ourselves, if we apply some growth promoting substances or growth promoting regulators like auxins and gibberellins, we can induce parthenocarpy in these plants. By applying auxins to a plant, to a mango tree or a guava plant, you can make it to bear fruits by applying auxin gibberellins. So these are some of the factors which directly or indirectly affect the plants, as a result of which these plants do not undergo fertilization, as a result of which they produce fruits without seeds. Such seedless fruits are called as parthenocarpic fruits, and the phenomenon is called as parthenocarpy. கருவுரா கனிகள். இந்த கருவுரா கனிகள்ல இந்த கனிகள்ல கருவுறுதல் நிகழாமலே கனி உருவாதல். கருவுறுதல் இல்லாமலே கனி உருவா பிளஸ் இந்த கனிகள்ல விதை இல்லா கனிகள், கருவுரா கனிகள் அல்லது விதை இல்லா கனிகள் என்று இது அழைக்கப்படுகிறது. Next, the significance of parthenocarpy. கருவுரா கனிகளின் முக்கியத்துவம். கருவுரா கனிகள், that is, they have a great importance in horticulture department. These seedless fruits have great commercial importance. Seedless fruits are useful in the preparation of jams, jellies, sauces, fruit drinks, etc. They have a high proportion of edible part in the parthenocarpic due to the absence of seeds. These seedless fruits have greater commercial importance. Commercially, they are very valuable, useful, plus economically. And these fruits have a larger portion of edible part. They are used in the preparation of jams, jellies, sauce, fruit drinks, etc. So with this, the three topics, namely apomixis, polyembryony, and parthenocarpy is over. It's coming to an end. See, students, we have now seen what is apomixis, what is amphimixis, the two types of apomixis, recurrent and non-recurrent apomixis. Then we saw the definition for polyembryony and the significance of polyembryony, and the third topic, parthenocarpy, dealing with seedless fruits. We saw the economic importance of parthenocarpy and what are the factors inducing parthenocarpy. So based on this, I want to give you an assignment. I request you all to maintain an assignment notebook. Now I will be dictating a few questions. Kindly note it down and find the answers for these questions. Question number 1, define apomixis. Question number 2, define amphimixis. Question number 3, what are the two main types of apomixis? Question number 4, define polyembryony. Question number 5, what is the significance for polyembryony? And question number 6, write the uses of parthenocarpy. Dear students, now I have dictated you the questions. I request you to find the answers for these questions, and in the next class we will meet and discuss them. Thank you.